kind of like, yeah, you know, I was moving with it. Then I based and meshed this whole wall because we tried to give you a real feel for going over CMU, okay? Don't look at this as it was going over a Dryvit system, okay? Look at this as going over CMU. So in the upper corner, I kind of try to draw in a little bit what the block was. What we would recommend, again, depending on your situation, is that you're going to take and you're going to base coat over top, okay, to smooth out anything. So if you had a concave, if they had struck the joints, you want to infill that before you stick the brick. You could just use your base coat to fill those in if you like. You don't have to use mesh. I like the mesh in all situations. I just think it adds that much better to the wall. Right. Then you come back with your backstop, which is your weather barrier, okay? And that, again, that protects it, although CMU is impervious to water. I think it's a much better application again. It gives you the ability to keep the water from actually saturating and going in there, right, if there is any water that does happen to get through. Right. Then you just go to your vertical notch trowel. And on this, what I'm using, did I steal your Thunder, Scott? Okay. I like adhesive-wise. We have 4 different products that will tell you can use. Jenny, liquid Jenny, which you add a Portland cement to. You can use the Primus liquid, Jenny DM, which is a dry mix, and the Jenny or the Primus DM. I like Jenny. I think Jenny gives you better adhesion. And I know what everybody looks at and asks. They're looking at this brick and they're saying, or this brick, and they're saying, really, how well does it stick? I can tell you this. If I hit this wall, yep, they'll pop off right now because it hasn't had a chance to dry. But I will tell you, once this stuff dries, when we up at the office, we have to do samples all the time, and we do demos, either for customers that are coming in or training programs, or for the sales reps, okay? When we come up there, this was about 3 months ago, the guy was taking the wall down. He actually had to take a claw hammer, put it in, and pull it off. And what we found, it was actually starting to pull off some of the base coat off of this mesh, or if this mesh it was actually bonding really well to the mesh in the back, to the foam, but more so to the mesh. So my philosophy is the more mesh we have back here, the stronger it's going to be. Okay? And we've met before, and I can't remember where. Tri-Arc just dawned on me. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but and again, I think Paul talked a little bit about the end bricks and so on. And again, that's just about the manufacturing process, how we have to manufacture this product, so on. The other thing, what you don't want to do, and I'm going to clean this off so it doesn't matter. What you don't want to do is this, okay? Because what ends up happening, it fills the thing in the back. We would like a drainage plane. So if I take and just stick this, okay, it'll hold. See, it gives it a slight drainage plane. And again, this is going to be for incidental moisture. This is not clay brick, where clay brick becomes saturated. Once it becomes saturated, it will not take any more water on. It won't take any more on. They need an air barrier back there to keep the air flowing to help it dry out. That's why the liquid vapor barrier there, or air barrier, or moisture barrier, is great because it prevents the water from penetrating further, and also then there's a drainage plane. But you're talking incidental moisture. If you're getting a lot of water into this, you've got a couple problems. Your problems are most likely going to be your surrounds around your windows, through holes, things like that. That's where your water infiltration happens. And it happens in stucco, it happens in stone veneer, happens in all of those. Okay? So again, you want to make sure that you're filling, or you're doing these properly, giving it proper expansion joints, caulk joints. Another question that a lot of times guys will ask, knowing the Dryvit system. Dryvit system, when you're using expansion joint, caulk joint, right? They tell you not to put finish in there, right? They want you to have a base coat. They want you to put primer over that. Does anybody know why? Because Dryvit's really mean, right? Actually, it's not. Where that comes from is from the adhesive company, the sealing companies. What the sealing companies are saying is when you put that finish in there, you put the sealant in there, it doesn't bond as well to all of the aggregate. To me, it took me a while till I actually grasped this. I'm like, oh no, it gives you something to wrap around and hold on to. Absolutely not. Smooth surface, it gives it a whole surface to adhere to. That's why they don't want a finish in there. But we've gone to them, we've had it tested. This is an acceptable material to adhere your sealant to. Okay? The other thing is, why do we use back rod in the back of the sealants? Okay, a lot of people think it's a couple reasons. One, it's a filler. Two, it adds a little bit of space. The third thing is, sealants are designed to only adhere to two areas. Okay, two spots. So if you have a side in the back and it's adhering to all of them, it has literally it has a 2 in 3 chance of failing because one of those 3s are going to fail. Which one's going to fail? The sealant is designed to be like a rubber band. You pull it and it springs back and forth. You can do it here and here, here and here, okay? But you don't want to do all 3. And the sealants won't adhere to the backer rod. Okay? Anything else? Okay, and the other thing is, and what I did here, and this is where I take suggestions because some of you guys have worked with some materials I haven't, okay? I'm a salesman by trade. I've learned to use a hawk and a trowel for 15 years as a sales rep for a distributor of the Dryvit brand, okay? I learned one thing. I can talk to my applicators, and you guys know a whole heck of a lot more at times on how to do the mechanical things. If you have suggestions, please let us know, okay? Also, you'll find that sometimes you'll get a dip in your wall. Okay, it's great to step back and look. Where where our guide, okay, the lip or the guide on this is fantastic because we can keep setting. Helps very well. But sometimes these aren't perfect, okay? We don't live in a perfect world. So sometimes you can get a little bit out of skew. The best thing to do is either step back and take a look at it, take a side view and look down the side, and you can look and sometimes you can see it do this, okay? Constantly measure and constantly use a level to check it out. What I've done here is I've just put 8-inch marks, so that tells me every 3 courses I should be real close to that, okay? I should be right on. When I end up, my lip should be right about there with that. And that keeps me up, which will tie me up to right about here. Okay? Other great thing about this product, and I had it happen down in Philadelphia. They were doing an end of a house, or it was actually a complex. They didn't know where to start in the bottom because all the windows were kind of screwed up, and they weren't able to lay it out right in their minds. So what did they do? They put a starter board at the top of the window, and they worked up from there. So they started the top of the first floor windows and door and worked up. Then they come back and they work down. Okay? Show me a brick, a clay brick that you can work from up here and go down. Man, you guys are awesome. Okay? It's one of those things, it's a great advantage. Starter boards, and if you look here, I just put a piece of foam across the bottom, okay? Starter boards are the greatest thing. Even if you're up a couple courses, you put a straight edge starter board across there. That's the cat's meow for you. That's the best way to get this going, and it's the best way to make it work right. If you don't have a starter board, I can guarantee you what? You're screwed. Plainly. And guess what? About this level, you're going, oh shit. Pop, 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 and you're starting all over, and you're cleaning it off. So use a starter board, okay? The other thing I will tell you also, lay out your job. Spend the extra hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to lay a job out if that's what it takes you. Okay? Just do a physical layout. I spent some time with a mason who's been doing this for 30 plus years. And I'm sitting there watching him, and he pulls out this board. Pulls out the board, and I'm looking at it. What the heck's that? He goes, that's my story pole. I says, what type of story is it going to tell us today? Story pole basically told him every course that he uses for brick. And he can sit there and he can set this on there, and he knows whether it's lined up. So when he does his corners, he knows they're lined up, then he throws a straight line. We don't have the ability to pull a straight line because of some of the things that, again, if you do that, you could pop this off. Okay? One thing, though, I am playing with, and I'm going to play with it at one point when I get the chance, is after I lay my mortar on the wall, okay, I want to take a string line across it, have somebody at the other end that I can just snap, and it'll snap a line right into my mortar for me so that I know I'm right in line with that every 8 courses, or every 8 inches, or 3 courses, or even if you only want to go every 24. You can make up that difference. Okay? And I think as Paul instructed you guys, you can make up a lot with this, especially east and west. I come up and I was a little bit too wide over here, so I made some minor adjustments. You've got that ability, and it makes it so much easier for you. And when I'm laying these and I'm using my spacer, okay, I'm using my 3/8 inch spacer. Figure out which side you like to work from, left to right, right to left. I don't know where the young gentleman was that was up here. And I showed him, when I move from my left to my right, my spacer's in my left hand. Why? And my box is in my right. Why? I pick it up, bam, stick it. This one's stuck. I reach down, I grab the next one, stick it. The other thing is, I hold in the bottom and I hold in the spacer area. Makes it real easy. My thumb, as big and fat as it is, slides in very well underneath the other one. Goes in really easy, real well. Okay? So it's a very simple. If you have to make a slight adjustment, moving it a little bit left and right, you're not going like this. You are moving it left and right. It's going to give you that adhesion. Okay? Again, you can see I always carry a multiple of different spacers. If I have to make up a 16th, okay, I don't have a 32nd, but I have a 16th, and I have a variety. 3/8 is really my main play here. Okay? Big question that people want to ask is, what happens if I get the Primus or Jenny on the face of the brick? Sucks. Actually, it doesn't. What you can do is what I would tell you. Don't let that dry for 2-3 days. You do, it's going to be a bear to get it off. Let it set up and dry for a couple hours. Then what you want to do is pull out a spray bottle, if you can, come up, spray it. So if I'm taking this, it's on there, and I got some on there. What I would recommend, spray where it is. With your hand, hold this down. Take a brush. Here's a good example. You guys see that? Let me see if I can do it not using my spray bottle. Pretty much off. Okay? I went a little bit quick with the spray bottle, then you can saturate it and it'll run off. When it comes to the mortar, and I got to tell you, mortar isn't working for me tonight. Okay? Sometimes when I buy the pre-mixed stuff, sometimes it doesn't work well. It bonds up really fast. To get it out of the grout bag, I'm not going to sit here and screw this wall up over that. It's not worth it. Okay? But if you get mortar on it, everybody says, how does it clean? I could tell you, first wall I ever did, I did for another distributor in Pennsylvania. This is a week after I was introduced to this. I'd never used a grout bag in my life, except for making cakes for my daughters. Quite evident that I'd never used a grout bag in my life. I had grout everywhere on that wall. And I think about the only place I didn't have it was in the joints, okay? What I did do is I tried to clean it off too quick, so it was still very wet. I struck it and it was all over. Well, I had this brilliant idea. I'll scrape it off with this. I'm going on an angle so that I come across, I'm not hooking in there. Next thing I know, it's coming over the face of the brick. Even a better idea. I grabbed the brush and I started brushing and it coated the whole thing. SureClean 600 did a wonderful job on that. Wasn't perfect, but I can tell you after that, I learned how to grout properly. I learned to let the joints set up. The other magical tool, if you're doing this, or not if, but when you do this, the magical tool is a zip tie. That's a $50 tool I'll sell you every day of the week. Okay? Make a zip tie, make a little loop. If you take that and you come across the joint, you're knocking off the excess, so it's almost flush. Then when you come back and strike, you strike and you only have a little bit that may come out. You have very little to clean up. Okay, then you can come back with your tool and just scrape off the little excess after it sets up a little bit more. And then when you clean it, it is easy. And I mean it, it's easy. You fly. You fly with it. And I think Paul addressed this issue again with your layout. You start from the top of your window and you work down. It makes a big difference there. Okay? I became this, my wife thinks I was sick or something. We're driving, I'm stopping and taking pictures of brick jobs. And the one that got me, you guys are all familiar with the East and you get that critical light, you know, where it shows every flaw in the wall. I had my day with brick. I was excited. Pulled up to it was a Chick-fil-A in just south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, coming home one evening, and they had the lights on the wall. It showed the bricks doing this. They weren't flush. I'm like going, oh, that's our comeback now to the brick industry. Look, they're not perfectly flat. You can say about our eaves, but here you go. Okay? And again, remember this, brick is not perfect. Clay brick is not perfect. The joints aren't perfect. They get stuff that comes out on the face of their brick too. That's what makes it look more authentic. Okay? And I can tell you, we have a job that we're doing in Brooklyn right now. Actually, Paul's running it right now, I think. This is part of that job. Is that Paul? But this job here, and you can see that's in 7 stories. The reason they did use the NewBrick on it, they wanted to keep the deck or the roof, because the tenants are going to have access to that. They wanted to keep it looking as much like brick as possible. Okay? But they didn't want to add the extra money, the cost, to put in the additional supports that they need and so on, and actually take away, because they were going to have to drop it 7 stories to carry the load the way the walls were designed at that point. They went with this. We have had 2 sets of architects there, and the first one that walked up said, yeah, well, where's your stuff at? He's looking at this, we'll say, that's it. No, he says, but where's this NewBrick stuff at? That's what's here. I don't understand. Where's your NewBrick at? Because that's the brick. He said, no, that's NewBrick. And when they cleared the corner, it still hadn't been the joints hadn't been filled, not all the brick had been put up. He got it. He got it. I think they were talking about an 80,000 square foot job at that point. Okay? I'm telling you, when people see this and they understand the CI code, the continuous insulation code, and what's required, that's where this thing's going to take off. And that's where you guys are going to have a golden opportunity, because guess what? This commands more money to be paid to you guys. Really, it does. Commands more money. This is a quality product. There's nothing else like it in the market. And guess what? We can do something that brick can't do. We can offer the continuous insulation. And you guys, I'm telling you, have an opportunity, because like any of our specialty finishes, you should be getting more money from that. Because if you're not, you better hire a good salesman. Because you can't get the quality, you can't get the look for the price that you can be charging for those products. This is no different. This is no different. Don't take into the account the price of the brick. That's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. This is about meeting a need that nobody else can meet right now and giving them a product that looks like brick, acts like brick, feels like brick. And I can tell you this, Dryvit's only going to get better with what they're generating for you on this product. Right now, people look and say, oh, well, you only have a couple textures. Yep. But guess what? The brick's been in business for 30,000 years. Jesus was, I think, amazed when he saw those blocks, and he said, I think my dad may have created that. Okay? Well, guess what? This is only a year, and we're getting better. And people are starting to take notice. We actually had a guy post something on LinkedIn last week. He had a mason supply house from in Texas call and say, I want that. I need to distribute, because he had two of his customers calling him, do you sell this stuff? Where do I get this at? Through LinkedIn, something so simple. Other questions? You guys are too easy. Sorry?
The corner bricks there, when you broke them up.
Can you speak English?
Yeah. You have very little of a seal there when you grout them there to the raw styrofoam on the corners.
Yep.
Is that sufficient? Yeah.
Nope. They've tested it all. That's one thing Dryvit will do. They put it through their accelerated testing. They send it out for the fire testing. Everything gets tested. Before they put it on the market, they will test it. They'll put a couple $100,000 into their testing on these products. It's been tested for the joints and that. Now, I think Paul may have addressed it in the mortar. When you're mixing your mortar, okay, we have a NewBrick ad mix. It's a 4-to-1 mix. You take 1 gallon, here's what I recommend you do. You take 1 gallon, you pour it in a 5-gallon bucket. You take 4 gallons of water, pour that in there, mix it up. So when you're mixing your mortar, you're just dumping that in. You're not taking guesswork. Well, yep, that looks about right. This looks about right. It's easy if you're mixing in a 5-gallon bucket. All you're doing is picking the bucket up. Once you get your consistency, put your lid back on your bucket, and you continue back through it. Anything else? That's the only question.
On the corner.
Yeah. No, and that's legitimate. That's a lot. We get that all the time. We get the, well, how's it gonna? Okay, at Barnes, I've got a couple of these samples are mine for my truck, for my calls. And I had somebody the other day look and says, well, look at this, it's cracking. I said, let me tell you what, it's been in my truck for almost 8 months. And it gets thrown around, things get smacked against it. And it's on a flexible board. If it's bonding and you only have a slight little crack like that, you'll have that in brick too. Actually, I had an architect look at me and says, look at this, looks so authentic. It even has, you guys even put a crack in there. Yeah, we did, just for you.
What's the work time?
Well, this is starting to run out just because what I do with my Jenny, I make it a little bit wetter. I find it's better. And you only want to work a couple feet up, a couple feet over, okay? I have this really dumb idea of having a machine that I can slide these through, and they slide out with the ribbons on it, and you just pick them up and you put it in there, But yeah, you got to keep moving with it. And what I would tell you, it's like anything else of our products. In mid-August, on the south side of a wall, you want to start at about 5:30 and you want to end about 9:30. Sets up rather quick. Again, but again, I temper it to make it a little bit more wet. Okay, makes it. And honestly, I think it makes it easier to work. It sticks a little bit. If you've got an area that you don't have that, if you don't have the support under it, that will cause it to sag. But I can take this brick here. Actually, if I put it on there, that's not going to sag on me. It's had a chance to set. Okay. Had I put that on earlier, it would have started to do this. it'll move down about like that. The other thing is that you can learn is sometimes if you're starting to dip a little bit, what I will do, so I don't have to use a shim, I'll take the brick, and I'm going to exaggerate this. I'll take the brick above it, and then I'll push it down. And what happens is it pinches a little bit of the base coat in between that. It'll create just enough of a lip, enough of a gap in there, okay, to bring you back up to level. Nifty little thing I just happened to come across. I'm falling behind, and I put up and I went like that, and I said, oh, now I know why. And I got away from some of the shims, especially that you're talking a 1/16 of an inch at most, 32nd. That brings you right back up with it.